Today I'm going to walk you through how to create your own A2 sentiment shaker card front in Cricut Design Space. And I'm also going to share my design with you, and you'll find the link in the description below. Right, I've opened up Cricut Design Space. I'm going to click on New Project. So left click on Shapes. I'm going to create an outline. So I'll click on the square and I want to change it to be 4¼ by 5½ inches. To do that, I need to click on to unlock the proportions, and then I can type in 4¼ by 5½ inches. Just going to change the color of this to make it a little bit easier to see. I can click on that square there and just change it to the grey. Alright, so now I'm going to choose my font, which is probably the hardest thing for me to do. Just left click on the text, which will bring up a text box. To change it, just highlight it and go up to the font section and use the drop down box here. If you know the name of the font you want to use, you can type it in. And then just left click on to accept. I thought this would make a really good font because it's got a capital and a lowercase, and it has a little bit of oomph to it, I think. I want to do each letter separately. So now that I've got all my letters ready to go, I can just resize them and fit them into my A2 template. To resize each letter, I can just grab a corner . I want to make sure that these letters are actually touching so that I can create like a negative space panel. Almost like having a window in it. Okay, so now I've kind of got an idea of where I want things. So I want to move the word happy down a little bit lower. So I'll select all of those. There's not much joining the two yet. Everything's touching. I can read the word. It's a bit big for the size of the front of my card. Attach it together for a start. Let's just do that. Then we can resize it just by dragging one corner. And then I want to unlock the proportions and stretch it so that it sits a little bit fuller in my card design. Right, so I'm going to highlight both of those and click on Align to center. Now I'm going to click on my rectangle and create an offset. So I want it to be a negative space, and I kind of want it to touch my letters a little bit just to hold them in place. My offset and my square, I'm going to highlight those and create a duplicate of those, because what I'm going to do here is highlight the whole image, click on Combined and click on Intersect. This is going to give me the positive cut. I'm going to highlight the two of these and then slice so that I can remove the center and create a border for my design, and then I can get rid of these two. I don't need them anymore by highlighting and clicking on delete. So because I cut this out at the same size as the border, I actually need to make the border just slightly smaller, or the words just a little bit bigger, so that I can weld them together. So as long as my proportions are locked, I can just grab the arrow and drag it out a little bit. I'm not going to need very much to make it fit. So maybe I'll just change it to 11.9 and then bring the two together. And I want to join these together. I actually want to weld them together. So I need to kind of make sure that all the edges are overlapping just a little bit. Highlight the two together and then click on Combined and Weld. Now this is a permanent fix, so I would suggest that you make a copy just in case you do need to change something. With the new program, you can actually go back and unweld, but once you've closed out, my understanding is that you won't be able to unweld it. So once you've closed out a Cricut Design Space, this is no return. So if you've got a copy sitting somewhere, you're right to go. So I'm going to make a card. Let's click on Make It. I'm going to set my base material as a heavy cardstock. And all I need to do is load my fine point blade and my mat. Right, so when I'm putting my card together, this is the fun bit for me. What I like to do is actually cut a second panel, because that's going to make this cardstock that little bit sturdier. So I did that in some heavier weight Nina 80-pound cardstock. Actually, the design paper I used today was a 60-pound. And I'm joining the two together just with some liquid glue. Now, because I want to make this a shaker card, I do need to add some acetate behind the actual sentiment design that I've cut out. And I've used a nice strong adhesive. This is some score tape, but you can use whatever you have on hand. And I want to make a well for my shaker bits. I find the easiest way to do this is to actually double up my foam tape before I add it to the back of my panel, but you can certainly do this step after. I can then cut down the piece to fit the back of the panel making sure that when I lay it down, I don't have any gaps that the shaker bits are going to fall out when it gets shaken. Here's a pro tip for you. Don't want to go chasing shaker bits. What I like to do sometimes, especially with these little balls, they're very hard to keep in a certain area, is to actually adhere a second layer of acetate behind the shaker element. So that way, this is a totally independent piece and I don't have to try and chase those little shaker bits around my card. Now I have added some more design paper behind my panel, and I did also come back in and add the tittle above the eye just with some liquid glue, and I wanted to add a couple of flowers. Now you can change up this design however you please. I'm going to link my actual card in the description below the video so you can actually use this design if you want in Cricut Design Space. This could easily be adapted to a more masculine design. You don't have to add flowers. I just thought it was fun to do that. And I've also linked the images that I've used, which are free ones, in the Design Space. Did you know that I'm teaching in a Cricut Summit this month? It's May 2023 and it's absolutely free. I would love you to join me there. There's over 25 presentations. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to click on the like button and join me at the summit. I've got the link in the video description below. I look forward to seeing you there. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.